Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and regular viewers to this channel will know that we're moving a lot of our growing from the allotment back home. And that's for all sorts of reasons, but I mean one of the big reasons is that it's just so much easier to grow here where we've got access to electricity and water and we're here all the time. It makes everything really easy to look after. But one of the things that we're also moving here are all of the tender seedlings in spring. It's always been difficult to manage those on the allotment, so all of the courgettes and the cucumbers, the peppers, the tomatoes, all those seedlings, all need to be protected from frost, all need a relatively high nighttime temperature. And whilst they survived in the polytunnel last year and to some extent the year before, it wasn't perfect, and it meant a lot of popping down to the allotment in the morning to open up, popping down in the evening to close up, laying fleece out, all this sort of thing. And so this year we're going to do all of that work in this conservatory where I'm sitting now. Now this used to be my office when I was working, and it's now basically my den. And so I really want to be surrounded by everything, all my growing seedlings. I've wanted to do that for ages, and I finally figured out how to do it. And this video is just going to show you basically some of the first things that I've done and some of the ideas about what I'm going to do later on. And I'm particularly excited about what I'll be able to do in here in winter. Now, I'll just talk quickly about grow lights. So out in the garage, I repurposed 3 shelves as kind of a grow light station, and I wrapped it round with mylar blanket and put some LED lights in there and all that sort of thing. But the challenge with that space is it was still too cold at night when the lights were off, and actually to some extent the lights were a little bit too warm. It's hard to get the temperature right in there. Plus it just annoyed me that I was heating up a garage, and actually I wanted that garage as cool as possible because that's where all of our winter veg is being stored. But in the conservatory, it's another thing altogether. Obviously, it's insulated. It's actually not a true conservatory in that it's got obviously a wall here and it's got a wall here, it's onto the house. So it's actually really warm all the way through the day. Even in winter, we only need a very minimal sort of heating in here because you just get so much heat from the sunlight. And at night time, it's not too bad. And actually, I've been trying it, testing it over the last few days to see how much it costs to actually keep it at about 60 degrees Fahrenheit overnight. And it costs about 30 pence a night. And I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good investment. So yeah, I'll show you around and I'll show you kind of little bits of pieces of tech that I'm using in here as well. I don't want it to go a bit really overboard from a technology point of view, but I happen to have been given some plugs, Wi-Fi plugs, and those plugs are really nice actually as well because they monitor the power draw on them, so you can work out how much things cost, and they monitor it really nicely. So they monitor it daily and weekly and monthly and all time sort of settings as well. So those are really nice. And yeah, and I've got some little thermometers, little Bluetooth thermometers, and I actually bought these, but I only use one of them on the allotment now. And so I've got 2 of those in here as well, and they allow me to see what's happening with the temperature every few minutes basically, and so they're really good as well. I'll show you those, and they just provide a real good insight into what's happening in here, and helping me to come up with a kind of temperature management strategy for now, which actually is quite challenging because it does get quite hot in here in spring and summer. But it's also going to be really interesting to see how I do that in winter. So let's have a look around. I'll show you what I'm up to. So this new unit is the centerpiece of what we're doing in here, and it's really nice. I got it off Amazon. It was £40 and the quality is fantastic. So I'm really pleased that I didn't go for just greenhouse shelving in here. It's got these really nicely spaced shelves, which means you can get, you know, tomatoes and anything, you know, anything that's growing quite high in here. And yeah, it's got a kind of fairly nice temperature distribution, with being up here being nicely ventilated, because I've got fans in both corners here that kind of blow in here. And it's got, you know, lower shelves basically for seed starting. So I haven't brought much home from the allotment to populate it at the moment. But basically I've just got all my early beans here, and these are going in the polytunnel and in low tunnels and things. I've got my first of my super early potato trials here, and obviously these are baking potatoes. Got some lettuces and things like that. I've just got lots of different things here which I'm just trying out. Because of the nature of the light, I do have to kind of swap things around a little bit sometimes, just to make sure that they grow straight, because they are kind of drawn to the light a bit. But yeah, I just absolutely love it. I love having all this growth going on around me. It really is so exciting. I've got some cucumbers up here. I've got little baby cucumbers on these now, which is really nice. So this is going to be even more exciting in winter, because I'm getting a grow light given to me for free, and I'm going to hang it from here about this height so that it illuminates this. And obviously there's loads of light coming into this conservatory, but what there isn't is very much top light. And so in order to get things growing nice and not leggy, I just need quite an intense top light coming down, as well as the light coming in from this side of the conservatory. So I'm really excited about what I'll be able to do in terms of starting things earlier in the year. And for me, because I'm all about sort of self-sufficiency and continuity and all that sort of thing, that means early brassicas and early lettuces and things like that, more than things like peppers, because I like to overwinter my early peppers, so that's not much of an issue. Yeah, so that's fantastic. So lots of light coming down in here, and basically lots of heat, because it's a conservatory. So the combination of light and heat should be kind of just perfect. And that's the combination that I've never really managed to get before. I've had places where I've got plenty of light, but not enough heat, like the polytunnel, and places where I've got plenty of heat, but not enough light, like the windowsills in the house. And so in here, I'm hoping with a combination of that grow light that I'll get light and heat. And the beauty of this grow light is, being in here, is that I can have it on when I'm not actually in here, which is really convenient. So I've got some other great growing places in here, which I'm just going to show you now. I've got two spots that work well for things that are going to grow really high, like early tomatoes. So I've got one there and one in that corner there. And I've got a shelf up here which gets fantastic top light as well as side light. And so things don't get leggy up there. But the challenge with that spot there is it does get incredibly hot, because there's not much air movement. But I've got two little fans now, little USB fans, and they're attached to my Wi-Fi plugs. And so I can do things like, Alexa, turn off the fans. And there they go. Silence. No fans. Hopefully those fans weren't too noisy. Alexa, turn on the fans. And there they go. So that's really nice. Now at night I've got this little radiator, and again that's on one of these Wi-Fi plugs, and so I can switch that off or on a schedule. And normally I switch it on at about 10 o'clock at night, and I switch it off at about 7 o'clock in the morning. And as I say, that's costing me about 30 pence at the moment. The beauty of these Wi-Fi plugs is I can switch these on and off, and I can switch these fans on and off anywhere that I am in the world, basically. So if I check the weather forecast and I'm on holiday and it's just really going to be really hot, or it's cold or whatever, I can just switch the fans off, I can switch the radiator on, all that sort of thing. So Yeah, I'm just really excited. Plus I've got these windowsills in here, and they're really great for things that don't get too leggy. So things like peas, which I've got on there at the moment, I don't really need to worry about those getting leggy, so they're fine on there. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I'll just quickly show you how this is complemented by the outside space, because what I've got is a kind of nice grow bench up against the wall over there. And that's really simple for me then to just take things out of here and pop them on the grow bench to harden them off. And I'm building another grow bench over on the other side next to the garage. And that will be a summer grow bench for when things are really hot. And basically anything, just don't want to be putting seedlings out into direct sunlight for 12 hours a day. On that other area, which is next to the garage, that only gets sunlight for about 6 hours a day. So it's, and it kind of goes into shade at about 1 o'clock. Midday, so it's just kind of perfect. Just as the day is getting really hot, it goes into shade. So I'm hoping that's really good for little seedlings in summer. And of course they're really important because the July and August sowings of seedlings are some of the most important of the year. So I think that's pretty much it. That's my new growing area for seedlings, and I say I'm really excited, and I just love the way it looks as well. It's so nice to be surrounded by things that are growing again.